Right. So I can't be the only one who's had this thought, right? How many allies can you rush out with Gravy Bones? Now, obviously, controlled setting, I have stacked the deck and I'm using as many cards as I need necessarily, right, to do this as perfectly as I can. But it's actually turned out to be a bit more difficult than I thought, right? Because they've done a really, really good job, especially with the gold generating cards, right? There is nothing that feels above right? Except for Chart the High Seas. So think Midas Touch and Whaler, right? Awesome. I'm getting 6 gold. 6 gold with blues is a +2, but it's not because you've had to play Whaler, right? So you've had to, even if he's in the graveyard, you're still pitching 2 into him, so it's neutral, right? If you try and cheat him out and go double Whaler, you've done 2, what are they called? It's in this deck, we'll get to it, but generally speaking, right, they have balanced all the cards fairly well that I have not found anything super exploitative, which is what we want to see. But, alas, right, how many allies can we get out? So we're doing this nice and simply, no arsenal, no prior prep, right? Just if we get the right string of cards in a row, how many end up on the board? So, Chart the High Seas, again, this is the one card that actually feels super strong, right? Because in any scenario, unless you hit a red, you're getting really good value out of this card, right? So in the scenario you hit a blue and a yellow, you're getting a gold and you're getting 3 resources. I mean, you can pop the gold, get a card back, so now you're neutral, but you've gained 1 resource. So Chart the High Seas just being gain 1 resource, go again. It's good. I do really like Chart the High Seas, and of course we're gonna double dip, right, with Back Alley Breakline, which as long as it's put into a zone face up, we get action points, which we get the pitch zone, and we get the graveyard zone. So we're at 3 action points so far, 1 gold generated, and 3 resource. So again, I can pop the gold, and my hand stays at 4, but I'm now floating 1, right? So that's super strong, although I don't want to do that, because, again, I've set the deck up. So we chart the High Seas, we get our Break Alley break lines, right? Chowder, first ally seen, beautiful. Another one, and a Barnacle. So 2 allies in the graveyard, so essentially my hand is still 3, because I have the action points to play them. But then we can, of course, pop the gold with our floating resources, and just like that, my hand is... Do I go 1 more? No, I keep 1 for gravy, I think, right? But 4 cards in hand, 2 cards playable from the graveyard, 3 resources floating, right? That's, again, super high rolly. You're not going to line them up as perfectly as that, but it goes to show you the strength of Chart the High Seas, right? Then, Portside Exchange. So, we can discard our Fool's Gold, double dip again, get ourselves 2 gold, which is beautiful, or, generally, just in the case of Gravy, you're discarding an ally and getting a gold, which still feels really, really good, right? If you have the resources floating, again, from Chart the High Seas and Dread Threads, you get your Portside Exchange for free, right? Because you get 2 resources. So, there's lots of ways where, for Gravy, unlike the other heroes, Puffin and Marlin, I haven't looked into them too extensively, but you need less cards to line up to stay on rate, right? Or neutral value in terms of hand size, which is, I guess, above rate, right, in terms of actually playing Flesh and Blood. But discards Fool's Gold, and then we get a Scooby, discard our Scooby. Beautiful. So, now, again, we have the gold, so we just redraw our hand. So we've done all this to end up with action points, resources, and cards in tow, right? So we can do that for the Titanium Bubble. And 2 blues into 3 gold is our +1. So we end up back with a 4-card hand, 3 cards playable, no resources floating now, but 5 action points. So from here, we have the Give No Quarter. That's the card, right? So the next 2 ally cards with Watery Graves you play this turn cost 3 less to play. So you don't have to be played from the graveyard. They can be played from hand, right? So this is, again, essentially a 6 pitchable, right? Similar to Chart the High Seas in the correct scenario. So yeah, super nice, right? So we'll play it. And then with our action points, we can go our Chowder, right, for free, since we have Give No Quarter. We can then Dead Threads into Mage Master, right? So Chowder had go again from our Compass, and now Barnacle has go again from our Mage Master boots. So we're still at 5 action points, and then we can just dump the rest, right? So 6 allies on board through all that setup, right? So again, pretty crazy. You're not going to line up most of the time, but still, to throw out that many is nuts. And we're still 1 action point, so I could swing with one of them, and then, yeah, our opponent has to deal with this board, and we feel awful into like a Cleave, Chain Lightning, Barbed Barrage. Is that the new Ranger one, right? But still, I think setting up 6 is a solid start, right? If you can find a way to set up more, again, starting from 4 cards, I'm all ears, right? But we'll leave it there. Let's look at the cards again, because again, everything does feel kind of nicely balanced. So Midas Touch, right? Destroy target ally. Its controller creates gold tokens equal to its cost, right? So again, the big thing is Whaler, right? A nice 6 cost or 6 gold. So even in one of the best scenarios to play it, right, which is basically double play Give No Quarter. So first Give No Quarter discounts both by 3. Second Give No Quarter, again, discounts both by 3. So now they're both free, right? So we can go Whaler into Whaler, but we hit the first hurdle, which is now we need the action point, right? So we haven't had an ally enter the graveyard this turn, so we can't Dead Threads, but I'll still Mage Master, right? We have plenty of resources, so this should work out, right? And then we can Whaler again for free. So we have 2 on board, and then we can Midas Touch, and it generates us a decent chunk of gold, right? Since one's been destroyed, we can Dead Threads, and then we can try and recoup our hand through the gold, right? So gold with our pitchables, right, until we get to a +2, which should be here, right? And then we should be able to find the other Midas, and then use that again on the other Whaler, right? So now we're at 8 gold, but what you'll find is that, again, we've done all this to end up with basically the same hand to where we started, right? So gold, gold, gold. Remember, I had 1 more from the crown as well. So here we're at 3 cards, and then lastly, we don't even get to enough cards, unfortunately, right? We have the resources, but we're 1 gold short of returning to 4 cards. So again, in this high rolly best case scenario, I've managed to turn Whaler into, well, a -1, right? With no allies on board, right? Mage Master Boots destroyed. It's not a good value turn. So yeah, there is merit to obviously the amount of gold you can get off not just Whaler, or the 3 costs, 4 costs, right? Especially if they've, you know, haven't lost completely to your opponent. They have 1 life left. You find a Midas Touch. So Midas Touch definitely, I think, is useful deck tech in Gravy Bones, because again, you can just do so much with the gold. And again, from one turn to the next, right, where you're not trying to, again, generate the gold and then recoup your cards. If you save it, so for instance, we had 8 gold going into another turn, where we start with 4, we find the pitchables, and then we just get a much bigger hand, especially with Graveyard again. Every time an ally enters the graveyard or any ally is already in the graveyard, is just extra cards for us to play. Then you can find stuff like Lead the Charge, or you can find stuff. Didn't I have a trade-in? I feel like I did, right? Yeah, beautiful. Or trade-in, right? So there are lots of ways for us to spin it. But again, nothing yet you can do explosively on a singular turn, which, yeah, kudos to LSS for, you know, in this sense, balancing it as much as I can find, right? If you found, again, anything disgusting, do let me know. But I guess that begs the question of, what if Gravy with prep, right? How many allies could we theoretically get out? Okay, so now, obviously, the ridiculous of the ridiculous, right? Everything we could possibly do set up currently. So, Diamond Amulet for an action point, Time Snap Potions for an action point, Energy Pots for energy. Amulet of Echoes doesn't work on Teleshare. So, destroy Amulet of Echoes, target hero discards 2 cards, activate its ability only if you've played 2 or more cards with the same name this turn. So, you should be able to target yourself, but I couldn't, right? So, that's a shame, right? Because that's another way to set up discard, because there's actually not that much discard aside from regularly clicking Gravy Bones, right? So, for instance, all the allies here are from discarding, and you might notice it's a single copy of most, right? Aside from our Whaler Humperdick, since we Mice touched him to get to our nice big 37 gold. But this effectively feels like the gold cap, right? If you were trying to stockpile for all game, and that is not going to work out, right? Again, I've taken the majority of my deck around this, and that is definitely not the correct call, right? But still, nice, healthy pile of gold. What can we do with it? Well, let's clean up the board a little bit. So we'll crack everything we can crack. So blue item enters graveyard. We then get access to Watery Grave, but more importantly, 5 action points and 6 resources. Beautiful. So then, of course, we can go +3, right? Just off the gold. Beautiful. And we basically just want to draw the rest of the deck while cycling the cards effectively with Potion of Deja Vu, right? Otherwise, I would run out of cards, because I'm already kind of going to run out of cards, right? So, gold, pitch, and then gold, pitch. You get the gist, right? We'll fast forward through this. So, first Deja Vu, right? So, just recycle all the blues, since we do want to end up with the Give No Quarters and the Lead the Charges, right? So we can get more action points, and we can put our minions into play at a nice discounted amount, right? And then back to gold. Look at that. My brain works sometimes, right? So end up with the 3 lead the charges and the 3 give no quarters. And what am I missing? Nothing, right? The last thing I can do here is just discard into gravy, right? Is there a way for me to get another card? No, yeah, it's just discard for the 1 pitchable. So discard any ally, doesn't really matter. We'll go with Scooby. Right, so yeah. Resources active through Dread Threads. Mage Master gets us a go again. And now we just play our piece, right? So 3 lead the charges blue. There'll be 3 action points, and then 3 yellows. There'll be another 3. And then we can go give no quarter. And now I have to find the ones with 3 cost or less, right? So Chowder's exactly 3. He definitely wants to be put into play. And Sawbones will do, right? So then we can go give no quarter again. And then find another 3. And hopefully a 2, right? And then lastly, give no quarter. Charm, pitch, the trade-in. Beautiful. Float 2 resources. And anyone else with a hefty cost? You got a 1, you got a 1. I think it's just 1. Oh, there's a 2, right? So how many resources do we have left? 0, 1. Did it work out? Oh, beautiful, it worked out, right? So 2 resources spare for them too. And then we still have enough action points, so we can go Dread Threads, Mage Master, put in Scooby, and then play the rest. And look at that. We can even, well, we can't Gold Kiss Realm because we've used Gravy, but managed to play every single ally, aside from Whaler, right? Since we Midas Touched him, for a nice, beautiful board of just shenanigans, right? Let's get that out of the way. Yeah. But I had to jump through an immense hurdle to get this done, but it is possible, right? Nice plethora of minions to then do nothing with and die next turn, because my deck is nothing now. Anyway. Shenanigans till we get, everything else that's in store for High Seas come tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed. See ya.